Okay, so we're going to be looking now at how to introduce your tutees to their reports, and I am on page 9 of the students' tutees handbook, and I'm looking at this table here which has an overview of the scheme. So in week 1 of the intervention, when we meet with our tutee for the first time, we are going to familiarise our tutee with the programme and with the report. Now, your tutee will have had an introduction to the Raising Attainment programme from the school's SENCO in all probability, and you might want to start by asking them what they remember about that and what the programme is going to involve. You might want to ask them what they remember about the online Raising Attainment assessment process and how they felt that was interesting, what they remember about doing that. And then you're going to be ready to show the student their report. You're going to give your tutee time to look at the report, and you're going to explain to them that you've identified which of these 7 factors is most limiting their progress, and that you're going to be helping them to improve on that. In the second week, you're going to be focusing on your chosen factor that you want to start with and helping them to set a target in that. So let's imagine that you've decided that disclosure is the factor you want to focus on. You're going to explain why you're focusing on that, and you're going to be helping them to understand the scale. So what their baseline is, and then what their subject-specific scores are, and what the optimal score is for that particular subject. You're going to be helping them to focus upon, using the speech bubbles, what the consequences are if the student continues to use a suboptimal mindset in that particular lesson for that particular factor. And there are some very helpful statements there to help the student to motivate them in choosing some alternative behaviours. You've got 3 or 4 then specific behaviours and strategies that the student can select, and that you're going to discuss with them and consider whether or not they are already doing this and whether they need to do more of this. And so you're going to tick those boxes or put an arrow to say this is something that we need to do more of. So we're making the student's response very concrete and very specific, and then we're going to turn that choice, their decision to do more of this, into an actual target. And for that we're going to turn to the student's target booklet, which looks like this, and we're going to take the date of the meeting that we've had, the lesson that we're focusing on, so that may be maths or English or science, and the student is going to write the target that they have there, the behaviour, the strategy that they're going to choose to do more of now. And from that they're going to be able to use this booklet to discuss this target with their teacher at the start of the week. So you're going to encourage your tutee to have a discussion with their teacher around that target, and remind them that their teacher will have received a similar report themselves, so their teacher will be ready for them to come and have that conversation, and that they're going to work together towards the student succeeding in that target, and that the teacher is going at the end of the week to score whether the student has made a little, some, significant or great progress against that target. And the student is also going to self-assess whether they think they've made progress against it. So this is our weekly target setting and our progress assessment, and that is going to enable us to come back to that and see, build a positive learning curve where the student feels like they are making progress. So at the beginning of week 3, we're going to come back to the target that was set in week 2, and we're going to look at how the student discussed it with their teacher. The teacher has put their initials there to indicate they've had that conversation. The teacher has made an assessment that they felt the student made some progress in this case in terms of participating in group activities and sharing opinions. And the student felt that they made significant progress against that as well. So we begin our third coaching session with our tutee by reviewing the progress that they've made against the previous week's targets, and then we may want to choose another target from the same factor because we feel that this particular factor of the 7 is the most important one in terms of enabling the student to make progress and overcome their obstacles to progress. Alternatively, we may want to choose another factor to focus on. So when we go back to our student booklet, week 1 here, we've got room for a number of strategies, 4 different strategies of behaviours to be identified as targets. And we may not fill up all of those, we may fill up 1 or 2 or perhaps 3 of those. And then we're going to review those when we come back in week 2. And when we go on to week 2 here, we may choose to put targets from another factor or another target from the same factor in what we are focusing on in week 2. So we're going to follow this scheme throughout weeks 3 to 9 of the intervention. And at the end of week 9, when we get to week 10, we are going to evaluate impact. And this is where we are going to use the chart at the bottom of the student's report, which has a scale showing where the student started at with this particular factor. So here we're looking at disclosure. Here's where the student started at. This is where I was. This is the optimal. And the student is going to draw on here where they feel they've got to now. And we hope that the student is going to be able to say that they've moved considerably towards the optimal because of the coaching that they have received. And we're going to do that for each of the factors that we've been working on in our coaching. So we've been working on disclosure, confidence of self, pace, and learner processing. We will look at each of those 4 different factor reports, and we'll see what progress the student has made when they self-assess at the end of the 10-week intervention. Finally, the student is going to score against their individual lessons how much working on this factor has helped the student with their lessons and whether it has improved them.